should shift your advisory committee more into an action committee?
I don't think so, because I would say the three main people that are thinking about coordinating it currently are not on the committee. We currently have one opening and an application in, for that position from Sandra McIntosh.
Yes, I saw that.
And so that's there, but she's not currently on that committee. So, and I think, again, you know, we conducted our first interview of the rec coordinator today. Our second is tomorrow, our third is Monday, with the intention of making a decision by the end of the month and potentially an offer, if not by the end of the month, early in November as well.
Has the Recreation Advisory Committee taken an action to support this?
Yes.
Our last
I think
minutes
that
were
was the
like,
letter last week that,
that was,
2
okay,
weeks ago, that he had put in.
Okay.
Include that in the packet.
okay. But I think I did see it before.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Other questions?
How is this different than the summer solstice? They're asking for the rec committee to do this on the summer solstice. Does that under the Friends of Park Lake, or do they just have a group that does that?
So I believe the summer solstice is Friends of Park Lake, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think so. Who is a 501c3?
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah.
Standalone, yes.
And that's what his Bath Days is currently. I mean, they could take the 5 people that are wanting to do it and just take up Bath Days again.
So Bath Days is an owned name. That's not something that we
Yeah.
would be able to call it.
I mean,
So it would be a-
you would have to get the bylaws, have a meeting, have bylaws, there's a board of directors, have the current ones resign, the 5 new people get input.
So I don't think the Recreation Committee or the Township should have any interest in taking over a
No, I don't think so either. That's how
Right.
come I said the 5
Yeah.
people that are not township officials should go
So
do that.
I would say that there is not social capital out there to be able to ask people to resign from their positions and then take over their 501c3 board positions. That doesn't seem either.
Well, no, but they would do it in their spare time. They're gonna wanna do it in their spare time now, volunteering to help get this whatever going.
I would agree, although that's very different when we're talking about it being, it's still, so that approach would still keep it housed in a 501c3 separate entity that's dependent upon those people as opposed to in a township governmental organization that's not going anywhere anytime soon and is not dependent upon what those board members decide that they would like to stay or not stay, or what they would like to do or not do.
Other questions?
I don't have a question, no.
We have not budgeted for this.
I know you have a hanging question about what amount of money you would be requesting. Do you have like a ballpark of that?
I think that we would need to decide what we want it to be more concretely before coming for an ask, but I would say, I'm not gonna say a number because that is not a useful exercise currently, but it would be minimal.
Ryan, I can tell you when I was the president and I left, we spent around $30,000.
Okay.
But was that fundraised?
It was through sponsorships.
Or right.
And people putting in their ads in the program. And people who bought booths to have their crafts out there, so.
So that could be the ceiling, possibly.
Fireworks were expensive. Rides were expensive. I mean, I think when I left, we could only afford 4. And that was, and you have to pay for the insurance to have a festival like that. That was a cost.
I believe last time the attorney did say that it was common for municipalities to support their festivals in other areas.
But not own the festival.
I think you have more variability there.
Okay.
I can wholeheartedly add that we will not be trying to do fireworks in the initial years. Nor rides was something that we also did not talk about, or talked about not doing.
But there was a pie the board member booth I saw. Is
Pie at
that,
A pie eating contest? A
no,
board of
pie the
trustees pie
board
eating-
member?
Pie in the
Oh, pie the
face.
board member.
Pie in the
Yeah.
face.
Instead
They
of a
must have
dunk
snuck
tank,
that in, yeah.
instead of a dunk
I mean,
tank,
that's gonna get your 30,000 right there.
good.
New chief of police potentially. Old chief of
Old
police.
chief of
You
Hey,
know.
if you ever got a ticket, come pie the chief, I love it.
Get, and now bring back the old chiefs.
Yeah, right?
How are you, I can tell you're all taking this in a little bit anew. How are you feeling? This is an item for action, that does not mean we have to take action. We certainly could ask the chair to return with more information, or even wait a beat and get our own feelings in order. Any of those things are on the table.
I like the idea of bringing back bath days. I mean, no matter what you call it, people
People are
will
gonna
call
call
it
it.
bath days. I,
Festival formerly known as that.
Bath nights,
exactly.
maybe?
I definitely think that's something that our community has strong support for. But I do feel like it maybe would be responsible for us to ask for a tad bit more information and specifics. I don't know if that's something that we could just task the Recreation Advisory Committee with providing before we
Yeah.
Honestly,
take
what?
action. I mean, I feel like on the
they
one
want the
hand,
First year.
that's probably what we want, but on the other hand, the clock is also ticking to try and get this pulled off.
Which is why we're hearing that in
So I
November.
guess I will say on a positive note, I feel positive about it, but I would like more information, just a little bit more specifics of what you're specifically asking from us so that it's clear.
So I would offer that the meeting for November, because it's Veterans Day, has been canceled. So it's likely that you're not looking at this until December at your meeting, your next meeting, unless you call a special meeting.
We are moving, yeah.
Okay.
So we are, yeah, we switched that at the last board, or that
Okay.
last meeting.
So I do think it could be, if you're looking at rescheduling or waiting, it could be a month or more. I'm just offering that in terms of time.
Well,
guys
regardless
I
of
think
what
it's the
happens, that's
18th
gonna be
Or
the
the
timeframe.
12th. I
Yeah.
think it's the, tell you in a minute.
Can't be the 18th, because that's ours.
Yeah.
And you can't have this room.
It was November, it was
Was it
scheduled for the 11th.
Yeah, so we may have moved it to. On my work calendar, it's either I think it's the 13th.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing it on the township calendar, so it's possible that Taylor has
Isn't
not
it?
noticed it yet and scheduled it.
There's no other meetings that night.
I believe we moved it to the week of, that same week.
Okay. So other than the planning commission, it would be, this room would be available Wednesday and Thursday, so. But, quick turnaround, because the board would be meeting again on the 18th.
18th of November.
Correct.
Yep.
And usually I need, packet information by Thursday morning.
So you'd be meeting Wednesday?
I believe it's the 13th. I'd have to look back at the minutes.
So meeting Wednesday, turning around information for the packet. Of course, if you didn't have information for the packet, you came here again,
Without anything.
yeah.
How
Or the
fast
point,
at
you could
typing
distribute
are
it
you?
there.
Fast. I am old enough to have taken typing in high school, so words per minute is,
I have it on the 20th. That's,
is it the 20th?
that's what I
Okay.
have, yeah.
Oh,
I didn't put it into this
No,
calendar.
it's
Oh,
fine.
I,
oh.
Taylor's texting me.
I'm not
It
sure.
is the 20th.
She's always watching
Oh,
that,
so it's
Taylor.
after our meeting,
Yes,
Yes,
that's
it is the
after.
20th.
So that would put you on like December,
the first
I
meeting in
think
December.
the first meeting in December.
yeah, I was looking for a date.
6th?
December 6th.
Nope, 2nd, sorry. My bad.
2nd.
We all can manage calendars, I swear.
So that puts you back a bit, but I also don't know that there is much else we could do about that. Unless someone is advocating we move forward tonight, which I have not heard yet.
I guess unless you wanted to make a more specific, I don't know.
I already tried to make him name a number, and he said
Okay.
no.
Okay,
I do think that would be one thing that we would want to understand is how much. you
I
would
mean, I
be
think
asking?
no more than 5.
I mean,
$5,
it's gonna come
right?
down to,
$5.
well,
Yes.
it comes down to what events you're gonna wanna have. So really, you need to figure out what events you wanna have, and then you're gonna have to figure out the budget from there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where it starts at.
Sure.
When we did talk about keeping it not private, so not somebody else owning the 401C to take the funds away if there is money left over, was that not my understanding?
Yeah, yes, that was the
That-
intention of not having it housed at a 501c3.
And why they need us, why they need the board and the township to be on board with it.
I do like the accountability aspect of it,
Yeah, so nobody can run away, like I say, the
as
two
opposed to, hey,
people-
we have this and we don't feel like answering your emails
Yeah.
about it or your phone calls, it's ours and we're
We
not giving
control
it to
it
you.
ultimately.
I think that having it at a more municipal level brings the accountability
Right.
along with it.
And we can't just lose it. That's where
Right.
we talked
It-
about at the
It would be
meeting.
a fund, we would have to create a fund in the
Yeah.
township.
Right.
Right, and I like the
So it would remain
transparency of
separate.
that.
I would offer that we would always need volunteers to help us if the current people stepped away. I know Sandra and
Yeah.
I think
Libby,
Libby
Or it
Fortune
is,
had
yeah.
mentioned being able to
just walk away.
walk away from it. So we could not on our own, I don't think, pull it off. We would always need some form of volunteerism.
I would agree with that. And I think that the intention is not by any means to have the township staff and or the rec advisory committee run the,
Yeah.
Run
So I
the
do think
event,
if-
like
if
that's-
people walked away, it would halt until there were more volunteers.
I mean, I think the intention is not by any means to get as big as the DeWitt Ox Roast, but I think that currently they're at 20 or 20+ people who help to, volunteer to help coordinate that event, so.
But that's how most things around here work, you know?
It's hard to
It's
get
all
volunteers.
volunteers.
It's hard to get volunteers.
Are you thinking structurally this would serve as like a subcommittee of the rec committee?
I think it could be subcommittee, it could be a working group of the township. I don't know how the township is structured to have working groups or not. It could easily be a subcommittee.
I think with
Although
the
it would-
structure we have now, that makes the most sense. We are hoping to look at our committee structure after the first of the year, but within this
Should-
structure.
Could be a citizen commission as well, with a representative from the rec advisory committee on it.
Okay. What else would we want the committee to share with us? And Sherry to sort of take with her into that meeting about this topic?
We just need to know how big they want.
Well, maybe they have a 5-year plan, like in 25, this is what they're gonna start with, and, they'll add something every year, if that's how they're gonna do it.
I would just think maybe a timeline.
Great idea. I agree with
And-
Kate. You said this is something you hear about, lots of people talk about. This is also one of the few things that I hear people talking about nonstop. Really sad that the former festival went away and looking for some sort of gathering place in the community. And it'd be nice to bring it back in some format. Do you feel like you have direction from us?
So you'd like what, a specific ask for funds, what activities would occur in a 5-year, 3-year, 5-year,
Something.
3 to
How
5
you wanna
year
grow it,
At the
every
very
year.
least, a timeline for this year.
Timeline.
Right, for
Yeah.
2025.
And maybe like what number of volunteers you would expect to need to pull that off.
Knowing these will all be estimates this
Yeah.
early, but it
Yeah.
would be helpful to
Just
get
to
our
give
head
us
around
a-
the massiveness of it, or,
Just so you know, you can pull volunteers from the high school, because they have to have community service hours to graduate, and if there are NHS students, also, they have to have another additional 20 hours.
Right.
So that's where I pulled a lot of my volunteers from.
And we have an NHS member in our household who has both this year and next year, and all of their
Yes.
friends that hang out at our house as well. And we have some younger ones coming up as well that also hang out at our house, so,
I will tell you, I used my boys.
yeah,
May I offer my child as well?
all three.
John, definitely the one, but maybe all three. Al, you had a question?
Yeah, why can't you change the name?
So that's owned by the nonprofit. That would be like, say, the Michigan Farmers Market Association is a current nonprofit. Someone
Yeah.
couldn't start a nonprofit named the Michigan Farmers Market Association.
Yeah, but, yeah, I mean.
As long as they still are in
Couldn't it
existence.
be the Bath Ox Roast? Why does it have to be Bath Community Days?
It doesn't, it could be whatever what we want it to be called.
I mean, you
We
could name
say-
it Bath Community Days,
Yeah.
because it
Bath
was
Town
Bath
Party.
Festival, Bath Days Festival.
Yeah, we were just calling it
Bath Days,
Bath Summer
actually.
Festival, name TBD. Yeah, we can call it whatever.
So you don't have to go
Adam?
back into their account?
They can't.
That's the.
Can't.
Not
we
giving
cannot.
Right,
It's like
yeah.
taking a business
Start
name.
your own.
Who's on the bank account?
At that point in time, I talked to Terry and Vicky last week.
Awesome.
They are currently trying to form a letter to the Attorney General so they can disband Bath Days. So if they can do that, the name will be available.
Available.
They don't need to do a letter to the AG.
I believe they do to get rid of a 501c3.
No, you just vote to dissolve.
Disband, dissolve. and-
I don't know. Maybe if they can't get their board members together, I don't know.
Yeah, that could be a thing, yeah.
I mean, that could be a thing. Maybe that's why, the president and the vice president have to do that. I don't know. That's what they had told me on Friday when I talked to them.
There's supposed to be a clause in the bylaws that says if you dissolve, this is how to do it.
Well, and there,
But
I
you
know
would have
there
to have
is
a
a,
vote, you're
they
right.
have bylaws, so I'm not for sure what they say anymore,
Okay.
because that was a long time ago.
We can pull them from,
They're on the Lara
Yeah,
website,
yeah.
Right.
yeah.
all right, now do you feel like you have
I do, and so that'll
Some idea?
be November, we're meeting,
18?
Well,
We're
they're
meeting
not meeting until the
after.
20th, so
Not
the
until the
December
20th.
2nd.
You're talking December the,
I'll talk to our committee and see,
Yeah.
I'll talk to the committee and see if we can
Me.
move ahead instead, given this, so that then we could have something for you on November 18th. That would just depend on people's, availability, what is it, 48-hour notice for public meeting notice, 48 hours?
I think it's 18 for
18.
a special meeting.
Taylor might
Right.
text me. All right,
Probably
yeah,
has already.
I know, it buzzed, it's that or volleyball.
If it were a member of, if it was this board, we would need 24 under the Charter Township Act, but 18 should be for them. Okay, so 18.
Yeah, so I'll talk to committee and see if we can get ahead, so that we can be ready for November 18th instead of waiting,
Great, thank you.
to your point.
And even if
Well,
there's a
can-
meeting in here, you could meet in the conference room, because it sounds like what you're gonna be doing is like working anyway.
Right, yeah.
All right, anything else, team? Sherry, do you feel good that you can carry our water to the committee too?
sure.
Great.
I'm up on the next one, should I just stand here?
Might
Yeah,
well.
Yes, so that, no action, right? There's no.
No
and- Okay, so we're not gonna take action on 13, large B, small d. That moves us to new business, which is 14, large A, items for introduction discussion. Small a, recommendation from the Rec Advisory Committee for Upton Road property. Chair Montre.
All right, well, hello, board. So, I'm not sure everyone knows, but there is an approximately 18-acre parcel, south of 69, north of, the electrical, or north of M78, across from Dutch Hills there, that has had a sign since we moved, well, since before we moved here, that says Future Bath Township Park. It mostly says half of that now, since it's falling apart. So as part of the 5-year rec plan and the surveys that went along with that, one of the things that the citizens of the township tasked us with doing is considering and thinking about future park development, within the township. So there is currently I'll say it again, the approximately 18-acre parcel. It's approximate because we do not have a boundary or topographical survey for that parcel on record with the township. So the Recreation Advisory Committee is asking the township to authorize funding to be able to have a topographical and boundary survey done there, so that we can know where the actual boundaries are, know what the topography looks like in case there's future movement of soil that needs to happen. There are some big, large hills there, from past uses. And then also to ask, there's a well there, but no one knows the status of it. No one knows if it was filled with concrete, if it's usable, if it's not usable. We know where the nearest electric is. It's at the emergency siren at that location, so it's not very far for electric. So the rec advisory committee is asking for a boundary and topographical survey to be done there, so that as we continue to consider what development that might happen at that park facility, or at that parcel, that we can, have that boundary to be able to apply for things like the NR trust fund grants or other grant opportunities. So without the boundary survey, we can't really say like, hey, we would like to apply for this, because we don't know the actual boundaries of it.
Do you have an estimated cost?
I don't, so we can talk with Taylor to figure that out, she could get bids on it, and then we could bring that.
Do you have an
that-
estimated
yeah.
cost?
Well, I mean, I believe that we had one, because we had a whole project when Christie was Parks and Rec.
Oh,
Back in the 1850s. There should be one on record somewhere.
So they have looked repeatedly, like
I don't
probably
think
for,
that- I've never been asked to look, so I'm guessing they didn't look everywhere.
alright,
Beth,
right.
will you look?
yeah.
I found the layout of the park.
Yeah, we did, when I was on the rec committee, we came up with a schematic of what we wanted to do.
Yes, we have the schematic that we've looked at, it was like
Had to-
2003.
No, it had to be
We
like
did a
13,
survey
14,
at that
15.
time, so we would call the same company and get a copy of it, even if we don't have a paper copy here.
Alright, well, I can email Ben then, cause he has said that we don't have any surveys for it.
I don't,
You could try.
We can, okay, how do I make the formal, is this considered a formal request for you to?
Next week.
Alright, so I'll stick it on our agenda then for next time, and then if we have a survey, then we can think about in determining what that is, but let's work on the survey first.
And there should be, because I applied for a grant for that as well, so did you get a copy of that, do you know?
Of the grant, no, we only have
Of the grant application, because that had some of the stuff in it, it might be helpful.
okay, no, we don't have that.
That's my pitch. But, give me your word, take it,
I should have to you, that's all that's important.
what if we could get a volunteer well person to look for us?
The beauty of a small township where it's like, when I was back in that position, I did this and.
Adam,
Yeah.
if I could get a volunteer well person that I know to go look at it, just off the cuff.
I would say that that's above my pay grade to say you should have a volunteer well person go out and see what's happening.
And give us an idea, like, well, it's full of concrete, that's an easy, or it looks like it might work, without electrics, we can't test it. But
Determining if it's
perhaps
filled.
some determination could be made, if it's full of concrete, we know it's worthless. And
Do you
I
have
would
someone in
know.
mind?
Yeah,
Could they work with Karen and her staff?
sure, I'll
So we
ask
wanna
them.
make sure it's
Yeah,
done the way we need it to be done, but,
okay,
do you
yeah.
have a problem with that, Karen?
No, I don't, I think it needs to be, extremely thorough, I think there probably needs to be some testing, we would need to know exactly
Right,
what.
but we could start with that, look, see, it's full of concrete, we don't need to test anymore, done. But this is a professional well person,
Do we have
certified.
something that came to the township after, the road or the highway was done using it?
I'm not aware of anything, but
Because I think that we should have had something, I'm not sure if we ever got it.
you had indicated to me you thought it was fairly new, the well was
It's not
newer, so, but I don't have anything. that I'm
When
aware of.
they extended that, what do you call it when you go on?
Ramp.
On-ramp.
On-ramp, there you go. When they extended that, that's when they put that well in.
Okay.
So that was, police officers, you know, how long ago was that? No, when they extended that on-ramp.
20 years ago.
No, it wasn't, it was not, it was probably like 10 years ago.
Which
When they made it so much longer.
Upton Road?
The on-ramp from M78 to 69 east or west, or one of
It
them?
was going west, and you come off, it's super long, that,
Mm.
It was a staging area for the,
Do you know where the
Highway.
well
MDOT.
is on the property roughly, like?
I do not, but
Ben
Ben
probably
should, yeah, I mean, Ben's the
Okay.
one who's been,
I would like the person to touch base with me
That's
before
right,
he
yeah.
goes and does it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you would
And
know, be
Ben-
able to.
I was thinking he would go with,
I would
Ben
think
would go
Ben,
with-
yeah.
that
Great,
makes sense.
perfect.
I know
Yes.
Dan was here when we worked
Oh, okay, so 14 to
Oh.
potentially 19. Okay.
So as long as it wasn't board fit, full concrete.
on. Well, that was the whole trade-off, them using that site, was them putting the well
Well
in.
for us to have for future development.
All right. So you'll check on you'll check on survey. I'll talk to Ben about survey. You'll talk about
Yes.
well and get Ben to go out there with him. Great. All right. Thanks, Al.
Anything else you want us to do?
No, I'm gonna go catch the last two volleyball games of the eighth grade year. So, thanks all. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, that brings us to item 14, large B, items for action. So 14, large B, small a is the disposal of police vehicles. Superintendent Hildebrand.
Thank you. I received information from Police Chief Gary Smith on two police patrol vehicles, one police patrol vehicle and another vehicle. One is a 2019 Chevy Tahoe Sport Utility with 103,000 miles, and from what I've been educated on over the years, it's the hours that we run them and not necessarily the miles that are put on them that cause them to have a great deal of wear and tear. The Kelly Blue Book value, 21 to 25,000, although it does not take into account that it's a police vehicle. He recommended a minimum bid. We would put these out for closed bid, which we have in the past, a minimum bid of $5,000. The second vehicle was forfeited. It's a 2013 Dodge Charger with 213,000 miles, was forfeited through the Drug Forfeiture Act and now owned by the police department. Rough shape, should be sold. Kelly Blue Book, 4 to 6 approximately, based on other sales, and money would go into our drug forfeiture fund. And they would, of course, be advertised on, our township website as well as the Lansing State Journal. So we're asking for the authorization to dispose of these vehicles.
Do we have to use this process to dispose them?
What are you at, like, you guys the board needs to approve it.
No, I'm talking
Whether
about the
we-
actual sale of the vehicles.
No, we have in the past, I think when Lyle, I'm looking at Lyle, I was thinking LL. Police Chief Linda Mulder was here, we had some that were taken to an auction and sold that way, so there are varying ways that we could dispose of them.
Have you looked at things like Carvana?
No, we have not.
I'd encourage you to. I think, like, we should get more than $5,000 for that car.
That's a minimum bid. It's basically the minimum to be able to,
Yeah, but that means if no
Purchase.
one else bids and someone bids 5, we would roll with that.
correct.
Yeah, I think there may be some other creative ways to get rid of them that would get us more money, is really what I care about.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on Carvana or any?
I was just
Like-
curious, so we don't have a, asset disposal procedure here at the township, at all?
Just the steps to
Yes,
take to.
we do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious, I mean, usually that's gonna draw out what happens when we have apparatus or equipment, so if it doesn't cover that, then we are at whatever this board chooses at each of these times. I have not seen other entities utilizing something like a Carvana, primarily because the bid system is something that is easily trackable, a similar process to what some folks are accustomed to. And then I've also certainly had clients that utilize the auction option.
Yeah, we definitely do have a disposal policy. We set it back in like 15. But I don't recall what it says
I was
exactly.
looking for it quickly.
But what really you're asking tonight is approval to dispose of.
Correct.
And you can be in charge of the
Wait.
way, yeah. Through the lens of the
Why
policy.
that's happening.
The Lansing State Journal is a very poor place to try to sell something. I mean, their ads, I haven't seen a car for sale.
Sold on the
For
basis
months.
of an auction
I mean,
or
you
bid.
do
They
Facebook
don't,
Marketplace,
they
like
just
you do
don't have
Craigslist, you
it
can
like
do
they used to
Auctions
have.
or bids.
Yeah, I mean, the readership is down and
Yeah,
the ads are expensive, we know, cause Brenda buys them every week.
yeah, it's, I think it'd be a very poor place to
Facebook.
Okay.
spend money.
It's like that
So in
Facebook
conferring
Marketplace.
briefly,
Craigslist.
personal property estimated to have a fair market value of $2,500 or greater shall first be approved for sale by the Township Board of Trustees. Such personal property may be sold on the basis of an auction or bid or traded in for replacement equipment. Auctions or bids may have a reserve price.
Okay, so that's what we should follow. Other questions about disposal? Folks feel good about moving this direction then? So we want to put that into motion form?
I'll make a motion to authorize the disposal of the 2 police department vehicles, and I'll add the VIN numbers.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes,
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes.
All right, motion carries. That brings us to item 14, big B, small b, acceptance of Police Chief Smith's retirement notice. Back to you, Superintendent.
Thank you. I shared the memo that I had created for this meeting so that the people in the audience that are interested in this topic may take a look at that. Let me find my documents. I may just have given my document away. Thank you. Today I spoke with Gary. The clerk brought to light a point that when the previous chief of police retired, he gave us a time frame, both a date and a time of retirement. I spoke to Chief Gary Smith, and he has decided to modify the date somewhat from the 30th of November to the, excuse me, I didn't correct the day, Saturday. It would be Friday, November 29th at 12 o'clock p.m. So that changes his retirement letter. In addition, I don't know if you want the chief to say any words on the letter that's in your packet. I had indicated that because the November 4th meeting had been canceled, the next regular Board of Trustees meeting is scheduled for November 18th, 2 weeks prior to Chief Smith's last day. I recommended to this body that the Board of Trustees, that the hiring process be open to both internal and external candidates, and that prior to the November 18th, 2024 meeting, I would assess and interview interested candidates for interim police chief in order to make a recommendation to this body. If this board in any way prefers a special meeting, one could be called to resolve this matter earlier in November.
So tonight, you're asking us to accept the retirement notice.
Correct.
And then you're just informing us with the
I am informing
memo.
you.
We don't
If you-
need to take action on
Not
that.
unless you feel the process should go differently. If you do not, I will proceed as I've written to you.
So you're saying, functionally, we're deciding the process tonight then?
Correct.
But just for the interim chief.
The interim, well, no, because
No.
I have offered to you the recommendation that I would post it internally and externally, which you've heard different feedback tonight.
How do folks want to proceed? Do you want to accept, and by accept, I mean not formally, but accept what has been presented here as the process? Do you want more time to think about the process? If we appoint an interim, we would still have time at our next meeting or a future meeting to determine the process should we want. Or we could talk about it tonight.
What process has been used in the past?
I think for the past two chiefs, both Lyle Lindemulder and Gary Smith, that it was obviously an internal hire.
So there was no interviewing of external candidates?
Correct.
I don't know that there was interviewing of internal candidates for either of those, right?
we took
I
a,
can't speak to Lyle's. Was yours just you? Dan interviewed you, okay. And
So
then
not like a
Gary's
multiple person
recommendation for
candidate.
contract came from Police Chief Lindemulder.
if you go outside, or even if you go inside, the time it's gonna take you, you're gonna have to put an internal, somebody in there.
I think either way, there would be a need for an interim.
Yeah.
Because if you go outside, it's long.
It would be a
Long
longer
situation.
process.
I've always told you in the meetings, I've always felt that we need somebody that knows the township. I said that when Lyle went in, and I said that when Gary went in. I was on the board when they brought Reno in. And there's just such a learning curve from the chief coming in from outside.
Do we want to talk process? Let me ask that question larger. Do you want to engage in that tonight?
I told you how I feel.
I know Al does. Al's been clear. Do the rest of you want to make that call tonight? I don't want you to feel pressured, but also if we've got an idea what we want to do, there's no wasting time either.
The interviews that I've had experience in have always been a situation where a position is posted and internal and external candidates all go through the same process, regardless of where they're coming from. That's the only experience I ever have. So this, you're saying we don't have that option? Or I guess I'm not understanding what would make it a longer process.
I think the posting for an external candidates, the internal candidates, which I believe there are two of, would obviously know when it was posted and have kind of the ability to apply as soon as possible. It would be the external candidates that would need a time frame in which to apply for the job.
Okay.
So what you're used to is what I'm suggesting.
And we have how long? Like a month?
Gary's last day of work will be November 29th.
6 weeks?
But we can have an interim.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of separate from the interim conversation. I think
I
we
guess
should
the
pick
other
the
thought
pathway
would
you
be-
think is best, and then figure out, should we need an
Okay.
interim?
Oh, I was just thinking if you did choose an external candidate, then they wouldn't necessarily be able to start immediately. So
For
that
sure, yeah.
brings up other issues with it
And that's why
as
she
well.
said interim police chief, we can name
Interim.
one
So
also
that's the
in
second
November.
piece.
I like the way it's laid out.
Sherry, what are you thinking?
I can see good reasons for both, to get the best and interview, and if the best is here, it has an advantage, as Al said, that they're familiar with our area. Interviewing outside people gives us more options, which is a positive thing. I see the balance, but we also can give positive sense to local. But I don't see a reason why not to interview the best that we can find.
We could even build something into the review process that if, say, we did a point system in the review, that
Right.
folks who are familiar with the township, I don't think we
Yeah.
can say folks that live here are on our
Right.
force, but like, if you've got a familiarity with the township, like Al is
It's a big
saying,
positive, for sure.
you would get extra points or something, like that's another way of honoring internal candidates.
Are you anticipating using a point system?
To be honest with you, I hadn't considered what
Okay.
system I would use.
We've done that in the past when we've hired the superintendent. I don't know if that's how that went with you, Karen, but that's how we hired Dan. You know, you review the resumes, you score people, and then we do an interview,
And it
sort of
took,
deal.
what, 6 months to get Dan? There was a long period of time that,
Yeah, Troy left in September, I think mid-September of 2013, and I think Dan came on board in April of 2014. But of course, with positions like mine, you have to provide a certain amount of notice because of your contract. Gary's current contract says 30 days, which is why you received what you did. So I'm not sure what the commonality is for chiefs external to Bath, what their contracts require.
the chance of losing one or both of them because they were looked over from somebody else and going to someplace else, you might end up having to hire 3 or 4 people.
Could happen.
And we're having trouble getting the ones that we got. Because there's not a lot of applications out there. Just food for thought.
Very true.
Definitely.
Well,
I move we accept his resignation,
it's
or his
retirement.
retirement. And we'll get that part of it done.
All right.
Second that.
He's probably sweating it back there.
No,
Let's say no. Let's fix it, just say no.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept the police chief's retirement notice. Any other discussion, comments, questions? Well, I'll just say, Chief, thank you for your hard work. You came on in an incredibly difficult time. We had lots of stuff going on in your first 6 months, and I thought you handled it very, very well. It convinced me that you were the right guy for the job at that moment, so I appreciate it. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of everyone, we appreciate your service. We will find other ways to honor you as well. All right, should we do a roll call vote for this?
Does he want to speak?
Occasionally, the retiring chief will be granted a moment to speak at the lectern, should he wish to do so.
Oh, you're gonna do what?
You don't have to.
I thought I knew Gary enough to know he would not want to do that, but you are welcome to do that. Please do. We would love to hear from you.
You're welcome.
No, I wanted to thank the board for putting the trust in me when they hired me. I know Chris said earlier he came here because of Jack. I am no different. I've known Jack for 40-some years. He was, I think he was newly the new chief here when I was just a teenager, and he's the reason I came here. And you know, what a career I've had to be able to work your whole career, most of your career, in the township you grew up in. You know, I went to bad schools. I grew up here, and so what a pleasure it was. It doesn't come without its difficulties when you know everybody, but I just thank the board for putting the trust in me. So, and after 33 years, I always figure I know when it's right. It's time. It's time.
Well, thank you. If you buy a boat, I'm available.
I think he's got a pontoon already.
That's great. No, the pontoon's good enough. I'm always available. All right, so we've got a motion, a second. We're gonna do a roll call vote.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerman?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
yes,
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Mr. Funes Bliss?
A sad yes. All right, motion carries. Can't change your mind now, Gary. All right, so then to take up the matter of the memo, there's sort of two separate but related issues, what the process looks like and how we want to handle an interim. So we've heard a little bit about process. Is there other thoughts or opinions?
I don't feel like we decided anything now.
We have not, which is why I'm still talking about it.
Well, I guess then what's the process for an interim police chief? Is that most likely an internal situation?
In my mind, that's what it looks like. It's probably an internal candidate. But I wouldn't, there could be, I have no idea. There could be someone that would be interested in serving in that role. That's been with the department before. I have no idea. So this is a new one for me.
I saw Lyle raise his hand.
Lyle, you coming back for 6 months?
Okay. Well, I just feel like we need a plan.
That recommendation would come
This-
here to this board for approval.
Okay, so you would make a recommendation, then we would
Correct.
approve it. All right.
The individual for interim, yes.
The idea
For
that
the
an interim would then give you more time to go through the thorough interview process, if you wanted
If that's
to,
what you wanted to
if that's what you wanted to do.
We're running out of time for interim, correct? I mean,
We got 6 weeks,
6 weeks, okay.
and the interim
And one
starts
more
when he
meeting.
leaves.
Yeah, we would need to take some
We
action
gotta
at
get
that
moving.
November 18 meeting, or we'll be chiefless
Yes,
for some
we
time.
don't want to be chiefless.
Correct.
All right. I'm gonna make you all get an opinion and.
I told
and
you
choose
my
it.
opinion.
I heard your opinion, you're right. Where do you want, does someone wanna put their opinion in motion form? How about that?
say your opinion again, I don't remember it.
My opinion is exactly how Karen has it written.
Okay.
I think we need external and internal candidates to be able to apply. And put an interim police chief in until that process is done.
I'll support that.
Is that your motion?
That's
Is that
my
your
motion.
I second it.
Motion and a second from somewhere.
Kate or Sherry
Whatever.
both said.
Other discussion,
Sure, you
Al,
have
we
it.
know you voiced you'd rather keep it internal.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a problem.
Brenda, you've been awkwardly quiet next to me.
I'm okay with internal and external.
Okay.
But Al, does interviewing external candidates mean that you wouldn't hire an internal candidate?
No.
No,
Okay,
no, but I think you should look your candidates that you've got at hand. If you're not happy with that, then go outside.
okay.
But I think you need to at least give them a chance, because they do know the township and all the problems we have, and you don't know what you're getting when you go outside. I'd like to see Lyle take it for a couple, 3 months, and then give it some time.
Lyle's like, I'm farming.
Really mad you came tonight, aren't you? All right, so we've got a motion, a second. We've had some more discussion. Anything else? Sherry, you want to add anything before we vote?
So the motion is for internal and external? Am I
Yes.
correct? Okay, thank you.
With, I would only add that we give brownie points to internal, for sure. I mean, that is a very important point.
I think also it can also reinforce maybe why the internal candidates are the best candidates.
correct. Exactly.
Is when you see what the other options would have been.
Yep.
Do you want to do roll call or do you want to do voice vote on this one?
What if I do a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Kellerman,
Yes.
Ms. Hakerman,
Yes,
Mr. Rosecrans,
No,
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes, Mr. Funes Bliss,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. So that then allows you, Madam Superintendent, to process potential candidates for the interim.
Correct.
If I could ask that you move that as fast as possible
I would do so.
and keep us updated, then if there's anything that needs to be done, we would know before the meeting, just because we're so jammed up with that date.
Correct.
You can keep us up to date.
All right, thank you.
We obviously will not take action without it being at a board meeting, but it will be helpful to know what you're thinking.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I think we've concluded that business, is that right? Anybody have anything else to add? All right, so our last item here, 2 items, is about closed session. So what I'm looking for is, we're on, just to remind you, 14 Big B, small c. We want to go into closed session under the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.268H, to consider a confidential written legal opinion. We need a motion and a second to do that.
I'll make the motion to go into closed session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just, I know that the clerk knows this, but that motion will need to be more specific, but I think she's got it.
Oh,
I got it.
okay.
All right,
Roll call.
roll call?
Ms. Kellerman,
Yes.
Ms. Hakerman,
yes.
Mr. Rosecrans,
yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes, Mr. Funes Bliss,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
I slided that one up, didn't I?
She knew you were talking to her, though.
She knew it was.
All right, friends, if you'd like to stick around, you're welcome to. We will be back from closed session. Anything that we need to take action on, we'll take action on in this room. And see you soon.